Have you ever felt like someone was watching you, even when you were completely alone? Have you ever seen something out of the corner of your eye, only for it to vanish when you turn to look? I used to believe in logic. I thought that every shadow, every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of wind could be explained. But that was before I spent the night at the Crimson Hollow Inn, before I met whatever lurked in room 14. It all started when I was on a road trip through a small town I'd never even heard of before. My car broke down late at night, and the only lodging nearby was the Crimson Hollow Inn, an eerie Victorian-style hotel that looked like it had been plucked straight from a horror movie. Something about it unsettled me, but I had no choice. I needed a place to stay. The receptionist was an old woman with deep wrinkles and hollow eyes. She barely spoke as she handed me the key to room 14. Her hands trembled as she warned, "Don't open the closet." Her voice was barely above a whisper, and she avoided looking me in the eyes. I laughed nervously. "Why? What's in there?" She hesitated before murmuring, "Nothing you want to see." That should have been my cue to leave, but I was exhausted, and my logical mind dismissed her warning as some ridiculous ghost story meant to spook travelers. The room was dimly lit, the wallpaper peeling, the air thick with the scent of dust and something faintly metallic. The bed creaked under my weight, and a draft made the curtains sway as if something had just passed by them. Then I noticed the closet. It stood in the corner of the room, tall and foreboding. Its door was slightly ajar, revealing only darkness within. Ignoring the unease clawing at my chest, I locked the door, took a quick shower, and tried to sleep. But sleep never came. At first it was the scratching. It started as a faint, almost imperceptible sound, like nails dragging against wood. I told myself it was the old pipes or maybe even a rat in the walls. Then came the whispers. At first, they were too low to understand. But as the night dragged on, they grew louder. A chorus of hushed voices surrounded me, murmuring words I couldn't quite make out. I held my breath, frozen in place, my heart hammering in my chest. Then the closet door creaked open, slowly, deliberately. I stared, my body paralyzed with fear. Something moved in the darkness within. A figure stood there, barely visible against the blackness. It was tall, unnaturally thin, with elongated fingers that twitched as it stepped forward. Its face was obscured by darkness, but I could feel its eyes on me. Watching. Studying. I tried to move, but my body refused to respond. My breath hitched as the air grew thick, suffocating me in its presence. Then it spoke. A guttural, rasping voice slithered through the room. "You shouldn't be here!" Panic seized me. I leapt out of bed, fumbling for the door, but no matter how hard I twisted the knob, it wouldn't budge. The room seemed to close in around me, the walls pressing tighter, the shadows deepening. Then the figure moved closer. Its long fingers reached out, brushing against my arm. The touch was ice cold, numbing me instantly. A sharp, searing pain bloomed in my chest as whispers filled my ears. "Join us! Join us!" I screamed, thrashing against an unseen force holding me in place. The whispers became deafening, a cacophony of tortured voices that threatened to pull me under. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, everything stopped. The room was silent. The figure was gone. But I wasn't alone. The moment my body obeyed me again, I bolted for the door. This time it flew open with ease, and I ran out into the hallway, gasping for breath. The receptionist stood there, her face pale. "You saw him, didn't you?" she asked, her voice hollow. I nodded, still trembling. "What was that thing?" She sighed, her gaze heavy with sorrow. "Room 14 is cursed. No one who stays there leaves unchanged." I didn't wait for an explanation. I grabbed my bag and ran out into the night, not stopping until I was miles away from that wretched place. But even now, I still hear the whispers when I close my eyes. And sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night, my closet door is open, just a crack. Days passed, but the fear never left me. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that shadowy figure looming over me, whispering in that guttural voice. Desperate for answers, I returned to the town to speak with the locals. They refused to talk about the inn, only whispering superstitions about the watcher in the closet. Some claimed it was a spirit, others a demon. But one old man gave me the truth. There was a man, decades ago, who checked into room 14. No one ever saw him leave. They found the room empty, except for a single phrase carved into the closet door. "He waits in the dark." That night, as I slept in my own bed, I awoke to a familiar sound. Scratching, slow and deliberate, coming from inside my closet. With my heart pounding, I reached for my bedside lamp, my breath hitching. The closet door stood ajar, just a crack. And in the darkness within, something moved. A whisper slithered into the room, cold and hollow. "You brought him with you." The shadows lengthened, stretching across the walls, creeping toward my bed. My body was frozen in terror as a familiar, elongated hand reached out from the darkness, fingers twitching in anticipation. This time I knew I would never escape room 14, because room 14 had followed me home. I tried to leave. I packed my bags, got into my car, and drove until the gaslight flickered on. But no matter how far I went, the nightmares followed me. The whispering, the scratching, the feeling of unseen eyes tracking my every move. One night I set up a camera facing my closet. The next morning I found the footage corrupted, the screen flickering with static. But in the final frame, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A figure stood at the foot of my bed, tall, thin, watching. And in the corner of the screen, scrawled in the same jagged script from room 14's closet door, were the words, "You let me in."